Joker's back to 3, and Stratos is still banned. God damn it. Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Now, today I wanted to bring to you a video discussing the viability of pendulums up until we get to link format, because I think a lot of us can agree once link format hits and the entire game essentially changes forever, you know, pendulums do have one last opportunity to shine with a lot of the nationals coming up as well as the WCQs, and we might start seeing pendulums making a little bit of a resurgence. Now, this is mainly in part to a couple of reasons. First off, we did have a massive change upcoming on the June 12th ban list, and that is Skullcrobat Joker now at 3, Wisdom Eye Magician now at 3, as well as Pendulum Call now going to be legal at 3 copies. So what does this exactly mean? Well, it really is no surprise that 3 of the most powerful cards when it comes to Magician Pendulum, or really Pendulum in general, are going to be completely legal again and just completely allowed to run rampant and dominate, because Joker is one of the greatest search cards ever. Then you've got Wisdom Eye Magician, which is basically like just a free advantage because you just have him in your scale, you pop him, you get to search other stuff. If you open double Wisdom Eye, it's basically like game over, because that's just the amount of advantage you just accrue off of those 2 Wisdom Eyes is just absurd. And then you've got Pendulum Call, which is basically immediate scales that also have protection moving into the later turns. So all together, you know, these are 3 of the most powerful Pendulum cards that we could possibly be getting back. And then you also have the fact that we're going to be receiving the Pendulum, I guess, structure deck, but now it's actually a booster set, which let's not even get into that discussion because that's for a completely different day. But we have all this other support coming out as well, things like the Astrograph Magician and all these other cards as well. But the thing is, even with that support, as we've seen in the OCG, assuming we're going to be mimicking the OCG to an extent, those cards only had a marginal impact on their format. We still saw decks like Zodiac, as well as True Draco, and, you know, True King Dino to an extent as well, still pretty much dominating. The Magicians just didn't really, you know, have what it took to really stand up to these other decks. But looking at Pendulum as a whole, it's really interesting, especially when you combine Pendulums with Zodiac, because there's a lot of interesting synergies that can kind of work together and could create some insanely ridiculous boards. I mean, with a card now like Duelist Alliance legal, Duelist Alliance is insane because it allows us to search all of these really powerful cards that on their own are just fine, but now that we have 3 cards that we can play in the Pendulum deck to help search these extremely powerful cards when we need them, is just absurd. I mean, this card can search Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer, it can search Luster Pendulum, it can search Pendulum Call, it can search Pendulum Rising, which also has some really cool synergies in the deck as well. So the fact that now we just have a generic searcher for some of these insanely powerful cards just makes and just boosts the deck even beyond what we knew it before. Now, sure, we don't have Monkey Board and things like that. Obviously, Monkey Board was a little bit broken because it was essentially a 1-card scale, and with Monkey Board in the format, Joker was a 1-card scale as well, because Joker got to Monkey Board got to your other scale. So either way you look at it, Monkey Board was a little bit too broken, but that doesn't mean that the viability of Pendulums is completely just scrapped, because there's still plenty of really cool combos we can do, especially when you combine the Zodiacs with the Pendulums. There's combo videos out there of like Duelist Alliance and Zodiac Barrage, which are just resulting in insane levels of advantage. Those 2 cards alone can generate you, you know, 8, sometimes 9 cards, and you're ending on boards with Trident, you know, with Daigusto Emerald, similar to what you would with your normal Zodiac boards, but just done in a completely different way and really capitalizing on some of the synergies that these 2 archetypes have when they're combined together. You've got a card like Zodiac Ram, when it's destroyed, it's able to just recur advantage from other cards in your graveyard, but that can be manipulated and used with a card like Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer, which we all know Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer has basically been abused since its release back in Breakers of Shadow, but Now that we have a card like this to just further abuse it, then it's just absolutely ridiculous. And a lot of people also forget that guiding Ariadne was also a very important part of this strategy as well. And being able to pop the Ariadne with something like your Performer Pal Pendulum Sorcerer just made the fact that you were already getting something off Pendulum Sorcerer even better, because now you're able to search one of your insanely powerful counter traps like Solemn Strike or Solemn Warning. Well, now we have a card like Zodiac Barrage, which can be used as another outlet to pop our Guiding Ariadne. So not only are you going to be able to search a counter trap, but you're still going to be able to special summon a Zodiac monster to do your generic Zodiac combos, and just not only just end on just what you would normally end on, but now you're also searching a guaranteed trap card rather than hoping you draw it off of something like Daigusto Emerald. So it's really cool that you have the ability to more so selectively target what you want in your deck and just have that as your defensive line going into the next turn. That's just insane to me. The fact that these decks synergize in this way is absolutely incredible. Now, I do want to mention and pretty much be on both sides of the argument here. The biggest thing going against Pendulums is a couple things. First off, the fact that Link format is coming up, is Pendulums a deck that you truly want to invest in? Because when we have the new rules, you know, the Pendulum zones are going to be moved to the 1st and 5th spell and trap zone, meaning that you're only going to be able to set 3 back row if you're playing Pendulum scales, so it really limits the deck's ability, and then you've got all the new rules with Pendulums as well, so it gets really, really nerfed beyond the July Link format rule changes. So I guess it just depends that if you're wanting to play this deck, you only are going to have a month to really play this deck if you want to play it at all, and if you want to really shell out the kind of money to pay for the cards that you need, albeit most of them are rather inexpensive. I mean, Pendulum Sorcerers are only like, $1 or $2 for the super rares. You know, Jokers are maybe a couple bucks, as well as Pendulum Calls, but that's mainly because they came in the Magician Pendulum Structure deck when it was initially released, and they never got really another printing outside of that, so other than maybe the OTS pack, but those are a little bit more expensive. So do you really want to invest the money in it? But I think the other, and I think more pressing issue when it comes to Pendulums is the sheer amount of Pendulum hate that's currently available to us, because I really think it hinders the Pendulum deck's ability to do well. You guys have to think back when Pendulums were first released, and this is kind of like not when full power Pepe was a thing, but more so when the nerfed version was around. You know, what were the options that we really had? People were playing Twin Twister, and then they were playing like Anti-Spell Fragrance, and that's really the only 2 hard counters that there really were at the time that people were playing for Pendulums. And maybe there were some people playing Secret Village of the Spellcasters, Naturia Beast, things like that, but I'm talking about the generic things that every single deck can play. You have to look now, and the format's a lot different. We have Imperial Order legal, which Imperial Order literally just shits on Pendulum decks, because outside of the couple traps they're going to be running to be able to be searched off Ariadne, it's going to shut down literally the entire deck outside of maybe the Zodiac part. So unless you're fortunate enough to draw your very small Zodiac engine, you're not going to be able to out an Imperial Order very easily, if at all. Then you also have Anti-Spell, which is still at 3, and you also have Unending Nightmare, the brand new card out of Maximum Crisis, which, as Glasgow termed, unending fun when it comes to Pendulums, because it literally just shits on Pendulum decks being able to snipe one Pendulum scale after another. It literally gives the Pendulum player no chance, as long as the opposing player using Unending Nightmare has the life points at their disposal to just literally just destroy and shut down all of your Pendulum capabilities. It's going to be really rough. And then we still have Twin Twisters at 3. People are mainboarding Cosmic Cyclones already for the True Draco matchup, and they're already siding Twin Twisters for their Zodiac matchups respectively. So on top of that, Drident is also an issue, because Drident can easily just pop a scale if you can make a good read and maybe think that they don't have another one to access. And people are also playing 3 copies of Solemn Strike for the most part in the main deck. And then, not to mention the hand traps like Ghost Ogre, you got Ash Blossom. there's a lot of shit that's out in the meta currently that really hinders Pendulums, and it really hurts the potential for the deck to do very well. And I think that's the biggest thing, that if you're wanting to consider playing Pendulums for this very short period of time, do I think there's potential? I do, because some of the combos I've seen are very powerful, but at the same time, with all of the hate, especially when you're going into your games 2 and 3 into the sideboard, your opponents are going to be ready for this, because people are already siding, if not maining, a lot of these cards for specific matchups already, and it just so happens that they happen to have dual purpose against your Pendulum deck. And so if people are really worried about the Pendulum deck becoming that powerful, which I don't really think it will be, then they're already just going to adapt, because there's plenty of options available at everyone's disposal to really shut down the deck. But overall, the deck does have potential. It's cool because it kind of allows you to play around a card like Dimensional Barrier, because, you know, Zodiacs, you know, they shut down their Xyz plays with Barrier, and then you can still do all your Pendulum shenanigans, so that's pretty cool, I guess. But overall, I'm really curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on Pendulums as a whole. Do you think they're going to make a resurgence for a very short time period? I think when it comes to the WCQs, we might see some Pendulum decks there by surprise, because I think a lot of people are anticipating that the meta is going to be entirely comprised of Zodiac, True Draco Zodiac, maybe True Draco Pure, things like that as well, but those are basically going to be the top decks, so maybe a Pendulum player or two might be able to sneak in, because they might catch some people off guard, not anticipating, or maybe if they're able to master the deck enough that people are going to be caught off guard just enough that they're going to see some success. But guys, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you like this video, consider backing me on Patreon, because just by pledging only $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.